do remember you gave a talk at the annual directors meeting for the Yale New Haven Health. And you talked about the power of intuitive adaptability. Can you share really quickly, what is intuitive adaptability?
Yeah, I think this is a concept that again, it's sort of unpacking that question of, one, why would you go? And then what did you do? How did you manage? Because, unlike the military, I didn't have, and most aid workers, we don't have a structured industry that necessarily provides training, leadership development, teamwork, experience. What's an effective team, and of course, and then we're thrust into crisis management. So, it is very much sink or swim. My goodness, we are so with those water analogies, aren't we? But I think with intuitive adaptability, I mean, it's different things that I'm in the process of fleshing this out. But it is some of those skills that I think it's the inherent capacity that we have as human beings. However, the more successful, the more comfortable you've been, the less discomfort you've experienced, the fewer setbacks. You almost have this curse or the illusion of success, I would say. And so it's more, for whatever reason, I was more interested to kind of reinvent myself or explore new territory for me. And so I never allowed myself to get comfortable, and therefore I had, landing in new countries, no language, no limited context. And so there's a part of that was, one, having the humility to recognize you're not an expert, having, and the commitment to listen, really listen. And like I said, so the more sustained and confident you are in your degrees, in your record of work, the less, that's fantastic, and that's wonderful. But that can numb those skills of saying, I don't know. How do things work here? And so I think, that intuition does, we have it in us, but I think so many things numb that intuition. We are, even just the human species, we're social species. So, we choose the herd, we choose the group, we choose, over the individual. We get seduced by charisma. You mentioned that. And so we say, oh, well, you must know the answer, so I'll defer to you, leader, or spouse, or director or manager, government official. Let me just defer to you because you're, and so that the questions and then the thoughts that naturally occur to us through that intuition, we tend to numb that down. So I'm a bit of an extreme example because I haven't, I've started in education. I went into non-governmental crisis emergency response into different war zones, but then I ended up working, getting recruited to work with the military in Afghanistan, and then working with the government. And then, and then afterwards working pre-deployment trainings with the military. So I think for me, intuitive adaptability is, if I get comfortable, then my intuition says, oh, you don't need me. Okay. And so it's about that, it's about, but I do think that within the pace of change and disruption in our work, in an information age or a digital age, where the answer might come from the lowest levels of your team, it might come from across the planet, or the threats can come, not in a military uniform of the quote enemy, but could come in the form of a civilian that's a suicide bomber that looks like a vulnerable refugee. I mean, the threats, the world is so disruptive now that adaptability needs to be a core competency. But until you've experienced that and realize that the opportunity of disruption, the opportunity of being thrown on the back foot, is to say, oh, I actually have this muscle that's lain dormant, this intuition that is deep in our biology. It's kept us alive over the years, but it requires disruption and and change. To kind of realize I don't know the answer here. Like I said, that, the number of times I've arrived and the plan that I was told, the support, the minimal logistics that we have, I have to innovate on the fly. I have no choice. So it's kind of, how to awaken that intuition that, like I said, you have this rich wealth of experience, but we get seduced by what is success, and chasing that, and then kind of numbing, this incredible, wealth of information and just deep inner knowing that you have. And so I think that's the opportunity of our time, is deeply, is rekindling that intuition and grow, test it and growing that muscle so that you can find that, and I would say today, without hesitation, adaptability is my core competency, just because I've had so much disruption and change.
I just want to really quickly underscore a few things you said. I want to make sure everyone who's watching and listening catches this. But you don't let yourself get comfortable. A mutual friend of ours, Jay Morris from Yale New Haven Health, right? VP for Education. Him and I talked about how both of us, every time we feel like we are getting comfortable in a situation, we intentionally put ourselves in a different situation to make us uncomfortable and make us learn something new. And so I love the idea about being intentional about that and making sure that you don't find yourself in a very comfortable position, because you'll get lulled away, and then you could end up in a situation where, if you do think that you're top SHIT and you think you know everything, your mind is now closed to new information, right? So you always have to remain humble. You can be you can understand that you've worked hard for something, but that doesn't mean that you have to think that you know everything. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson, I can never get his quote right, but he always talks about how you need to know enough to be competent, but not know enough to know that you don't know everything. And I always mess up this quote, but I love that what you're saying right now.
Hello, everyone. This is Alex Tremble from GPS Leadership Solutions. And if you found this last interview to be awesome, spectacular, and actually you benefited from it, let me tell you, this is only the tip of the iceberg. Visit the alextrembleshow.com, information below in the description, and that's where you'll find the full uninterrupted interview. And I'm telling you, there's so much great content you'll hear from this past leader, as well as all the other leaders we've already interviewed. So remember, don't just look back, reach back. If there's someone who you think will benefit from this interview or any of the other interviews, make sure you share it with them. Click the like, click the subscribe. And as I always have to end all my sessions, stay strong, stay positive, and definitely stay moving. Thank you.